What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. We're recording this Memorial Day evening, 5:42 in the afternoon. Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Happy
I feel
Memorial
like it's
Day.
borderline unpatriotic that there was no Yankees baseball game today.
It was strange.
I actually spent Leanne and I went into New York City last night just for a night because we haven't had a night to ourselves in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And
Howell Harrison.
year and a half, coincidentally. And yeah, we were driving back today, and I was just like, why is there no game on? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Very, very bizarre.
I'm usually, if I'm on a boat or something, I'm trying to figure out how to watch the game or just see where we are to see what the attack is to make sure that I have it on at least John and Susan. But no, it was strange. But happy Memorial Day. Got some good pool time in today. Had some boat plans, but unfortunately they got shut down for some operational failures on the boat operator. I'm blaming him and his trailer.
Is it your friend's boat?
It's my brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law's
Yeah, the trailer.
boat? Yeah.
There was something wrong with the trailer, and it ruined our boat plans for the day. So we were hanging out at the pool.
Okay, well, pool's not bad. Boat would have been better, I guess.
Boats are better.
At least you don't own the boat. You don't have to deal with the
It's half the battle.
boat. All right.
I'll just go on when it works.
This series was, I was kind of, I'm torn on how to feel about this series because on the one hand, I sat here last episode and said, just split, get out of there alive, and I'll be cool with it. But with how the first two games went and how good the starting pitching was in all four games, to come out of there with a split feels like a letdown. And I know that might be hypocritical saying it, but my feelings changed after they won that game on Friday night. Then you're sniffing with Cole on the mound on Saturday.
Yes.
You're sniffing a series win.
When you're looking at this before the season starts and we're like, yes, we both said we would be fine with a split. If a split happened, the way that this team is, the amount of games that they've played in the short amount of time, they've gotten a lot in. Going against this competition on the road, a split's great. But when you win the first two, you're looking at it, you're like, now I feel differently. If I'm looking at a split, it's still a win the series with the rest of the games. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was a little bit of a knock because of the way that the pitching took care of business. The starting pitching was just phenomenal. They knew that the bullpen was hurt, and they stepped up big time.
Nestor and then Tyon on the first two games, 8 innings back to back. That's such a huge lift that those two guys gave them. And there was an article Hoke put out, I believe it was on Friday, about how there's a little competition among the starters. Like, hey, let's all do this. Let's all go 7-8 innings. And combined in the series, 28 and a third innings pitched, 6 earned runs by the starting rotation. 4 of those earned runs were on Sunday from Luis Severino. So you're really talking about like nothing given up by the starters in the first 3 games. And I mean, Cole was great too. Like, Cole was great. He struck out, I think it was 10 or 11 batters in the 6 innings he pitched. But that moment when he didn't get that strike 3 call to Choi, which, yeah, it was a strike according to the pitch box. Like, it was on the top of the zone. It was still borderline. Like, also a pitch you see umpires miss routinely because Trevino was not set up high. He was set up low.
Correct.
So when the catcher reaches up a foot to catch the ball, the ump just assumes it's a ball. Okay? Fine. It was a strike. Cole, you could see him mouthing it. That's a strike. You missed it. You missed that one. Just get the next batter, dude. There's 2 outs with a runner on first base. That is not a scoring opportunity for the Rays. You did not now walk the bases loaded or almost get out of a jam and then there's still no. 1 guy on and 2 outs. You're Garrett Cole. Get the next guy out. Do not huff and puff around the mound. Walk another batter and then give up a hit. You can't do it.
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely, he's got to be nails in that moment, and he's got to just get past this. We can't let anything like an umpire. If an umpire is affecting our number 1 pitcher at a time like that, then we got bigger problems because those big moments, if you don't get a pitch at any point, but if you're in the playoffs, if you're in a big game, if you don't get that pitch, you need to be able to put it right past you and attack the next guy. So, but other than that, he did pitch well. He pitched well.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, when you end it like that, unfortunately, it's what's standing out in my mind, but he did pitch well.
Of course. I'm not saying he didn't pitch well. And I had people in my mentions on Twitter when I said, you're Garrett Cole, get the next guy out, like, nut up. Is that, that he's still, you're not going to take 6 innings of 1 run. Yeah, of course. Like, it was a great start. That's not the point. And the Yankees offense was non-existent pretty much the last 3 games, but especially on Saturday, they only had the 1 run and they only had 4 hits, no walks. I don't even think they really had many scoring opportunities. So it might not have mattered anyway. But if you just get out of that inning, who knows, maybe he comes back out for another inning, or the bullpen can lock it down. It's just the feeling changed in that moment with your ace on the mound, and he kind of has like a mini he throws a mini fit, and then the Rays scored on him with 2 outs. It was a letdown.
I don't want the Rays getting that win either. I'm not the win of I'm not even talking about the game, but the win of that situation.
Off Cole, scoring
that
off
situation,
Cole,
yeah. I want Tampa to still walk away and understand like this guy shoved and completed it with us too. But no, there was a little bit at the end that just was like, hey, dude, give me one more. Give me that one extra little step to finish the job here. And Tampa took advantage of it. And then unfortunately it left a bad taste.
You notice there was also maybe because he did walk Choi, and Choi's had great numbers off of him in his career. And there was kind of like a mini battle within the game the whole day with Cole and Choi. So maybe that's why he also let it get to him. But someone tweeted me, and I thought they made a great point. They said Garrett Cole is his own worst enemy. And I think that's dead on accurate.
It's a problem though if it's happening in game, but it's also part of why he's so good, because he's so critical of himself. The way that he prepares, the way that he has expectations for himself. That's one of the reasons why he is the elite type of pitcher. So in a moment, he's got to be able to Monday morning quarterback that thing, or just like get past it, Mariano Rivera style, and just forget about it as a closer. You're done. That's it. You know what I mean? You have to have that memory, and unless he has that, then that's the next step for him.
Yeah, and it's those moments where he lets factors outside of his control, which is the umpire. I mean, I know it's
still in his control.
Technically in his control, yeah. He's the one throwing the pitch.
But in the moment, he doesn't believe that. He believes that he was robbed.
He thinks he's being screwed by an outside force here.
Right.
Just like on opening day with, like, we keep
Billy
joking
Crystal,
about Billy
son
Crystal.
of a bitch.
But it's the same thing. The game started 7 minutes late or whatever, and he's out there like huffing and puffing. It's like, just please move on. Just please get over it.
Well, that's a couple times that's happened. I mean, for real though, when he's going bad too, it leads me to the thought that he's not going to be able to rebound out of it all the time either.
Right.
We saw that happen in Detroit. I'm throwing away Detroit. That was a weird, cold night early in the season, so I am throwing it away, but I keep bringing it back up for whatever reason. But he didn't fight through that either. So there have been opportunities in this early season for him to show us that like next level moxie within a start.
What do you make of this? What do you make of that? Because I hate it. I hate it. I obviously love Garrett Cole, the pitcher, and he's one of the best pitchers in the league. But it's a bad feeling when a little thing can tick off your ace and it might derail the game. Like Nestor Cortez doesn't give a fuck what the umpire does. He's going to get the next guy out. Now, I'm not saying Nestor Cortez is bigger than is better than
he's not bigger
Cole, but in those sorts of moments.
So what you're saying is we need to bottle up some more of Nestor Cortez and give it to Garrett Cole. That's what you're saying? Saw that one coming.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, he just doesn't give a shit. He's playing with house money at this point. He's happy to be here. He's exceeding all expectations, whereas Garrett Cole has the expectations of multiply it by 15 in anybody's mind to get to that point. He's that type of guy. He's a perfectionist. So he's got big expectations for himself. And unfortunately, I think in some moments he doesn't get past that, or he gets mad at himself and it lets it affect him as well. So I don't know. It doesn't make you feel great, especially when you think about the playoffs and the type of emotions that you need to turn on and off. But hopefully he can get better at it this season.
And on the flip side in this series, the offense scored 12 runs in 4 games. 7 of them came on Thursday. As I said on Saturday, they only had 1 runners in scoring position opportunity. They went 1 for 1, but they only had 4 hits, no walks on Saturday. Sunday, ton of runners in scoring position opportunities, 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They could have taken a big lead early in that game, a couple first and third opportunities. They didn't. And who knows, maybe Severino is pitching differently and it's not a 1-run game going into the middle innings with Severino on the mound. So the offense, I understand, Stanton's out, Donaldson's out. They got Matt Carpenter coming in from the clouds with a porn stash, just like playing because, like, why not? It's just like boom, Matt Carpenter's in the lineup. Okay, let's roll.
I came out of a few
The
meetings,
lineup
turned the
is
game
bizarre
on. I'm
Yankees.
like, why the hell is Matt Carpenter in a Yankees uniform? Did not see the news until that rolled out. I'm like, what? When did this happen? Did I miss something completely? It happened very fast.
You were in a coma for the last 2
Seriously,
weeks.
yeah.
Boom, all of a sudden, Matt.
Matt
So
Carpenter. Throwback.
I get that the offense is really struggling because guys are missing, but a lot of the big guys are still there. They got DJ back. DJ, first at bat back, hits the ball off the right field wall. That's the hardest ball I've seen him hit in a long time, so that's a great sign. But there's also so many zeros in the lineup with Hicks, with Gallo, with the catchers. Let's face it, with Carpenter, even though he hit the home run, it's just like there's too many nothings in the lineup right now. Rizzo's been awful. It's too many nothings in that lineup, even when the pitching is that good. You're not going to get better starting pitching than they got this weekend.
No, you're right. And they have to be able to execute. So it's a matter of some of these guys coming out of it. Like when you look at what they can potentially do, we were talking about before we started recording, Andujar's a guy that's able to produce on the offensive side, especially when he gets into a rhythm. I mean, you saw even, I think it was Saturday, for his first at bat was, caught at the wall. It was a double that was a great play by the outfielder. He's making good contact. He's a hard guy for me to take out of the lineup when I see Gallo and Hicks doing what they're doing. And they're going to have to figure something out, though, because they're going to be pressed into a situation where this roster is getting pinched and tighter, and someone's going to have to go, and they're going to look at Andujar, and they're going to have to make a decision.
Yeah, let's play the scenario out, right? Because Stanton's coming back, knock on wood. Eventually, Donaldson's going to be back. You got now Carpenter there, who's a utility guy, but he can't play middle infield, and he can't play shortstop. So Marwin Gonzalez kind of has to remain on this team, unless they are going to really trust Gleyber Torres to be the backup shortstop. But again, you're kind of playing with fire there because Gleyber Torres is also a starter. So you're counting on one of your starters to be a backup if you need it. He can move over there if IKF needs to come out of a game or something like that. But I just think you're playing with fire if you do that. So there's really going to be decisions to make. And how do you look Miguel Andujar in the face
and choose Matt Carpenter.
Say, here's your ticket to Scranton as we continue to pencil in Hicks and Gallo into this lineup and keep Matt Carpenter.
That's it. So the Gallo, and I know people are pining for DFA, get rid of them, trade them, do this, do that. The reality is it's not going to happen, most likely. We're going to figure out, they're going to have some time to figure it out. Gallo's never going to figure it out. He's going to go into those little spurts, make everybody forget about some things, and then he's going to go through an 0 for 25 stretch, and we're going to be back in the same place. It's just it's a cycle with him. But with Hicks, that's a different situation, whether he's hurt, not hurt, if it's just, I read an article from Lindsay Adler talking about the wrist injury, comparing it back to when Teixeira had it, looking at that and how it affected him that next season after coming back from it. And, just the power or your swing mechanics are not there, and it does affect it. I don't know what they do there because you can't look at Andujar and say Matt Carpenter's staying. Why?
Right.
You can't do that. So Matt Carpenter's only here for a week or two, possibly. Then, there's still going to be more decisions beyond that. It's going to get down to a fact of Andujar's not going to have a place on this team, and they're going to look at a pure hitter and have to send him down. And it's going to drive me insane.
He's going to get playing time for the next week or so.
Yeah.
He needs to be undeniable in that time. He needs to make it so they can't send him down. If he's just okay, they're going to send him down. He needs to make it so they can't. And maybe that's unfair to say, but that's what he needs to do if he's going to stick on this roster.
Move even past Carpenter. What then? Who else's spot is he taking at this point?
Right. The bench is tiny as it is. They extended the extension for
But when Donaldson comes back, when these guys are coming back, we're going to be pinching this roster. So there's not going to be those two spots. It's like, in order to keep Andujar on this team, you're going to have to make another move, whether it's one less bullpen arm, one less, you're making a different move there to keep him on because you're not most likely.
How many options does Andujar have left, Logan? Can you look? He's only got one option left. So it's a really tough decision that they're going to have to make with him.
Yeah. Because he's a damn good hitter. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing that bat to ball come back, and it looks good. And when when he gets into a rhythm, when he gets more at bats, he's a dangerous hitter. He's really what this lineup needs too. He's another one of these guys that helps to turn this lineup over and keep the pressure off some of the big guys.
I think it was Thursday's game. He made a nice sliding catch in left field after I've been shitting all over his defense.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, he's the truth. He can play left
he's
field.
The truth.
He's like the anti-Gallo. He's the anti-Gallo. He plays average defense as like Gallo's.
Right.
His WAR now is below 0. Total WAR. And defensively, he's not doing that all that great.
Well,
so if
when
Miguel
you're not
Andujar is
hitting
right
as bad
there,
as Gallo,
and now we're not looking at offense. No. We're looking at just the offense. It's not even a question, right?
Yeah. I mean, defense, if you're just like elite defender with absolutely pitiful offense, I think you could probably still be positive WAR. I mean, we've seen it over time, but Gallo and Hicks are so bad offensively right now that
and defensively they're not playing great either. They're not doing what they normally would be doing.
But like it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, right. But what do they do? But are they going to make a move with Gallo? Do you? I don't think they will. But the right baseball move is having Andujar play left field.
Well, we're talking about it now, so I just want to read some of these tweets that we got for mailbag questions. And Nelson Jimenez Marquez, who's a longtime listener of our show, he tweeted us right now, the weakest link on this team are Hicks and Gallo. Guys, do you think there's a chance of them being replaced by the end of the season? Also, do you think Donaldson's days as a Yankee are numbered? That's an interesting
question. No, because he's also got another year in his contract, and not one other team in the Major League Baseball.
I think he was probably alluding to the whole, controversy with.
I know, but you still have to. I mean, he's
no, I know.
Going to be
you
there.
still got a lot of money to pay him.
Yeah.
Josh Hegan on Twitter. Something has to give when Stanton comes back. Andujar is better than Hicks and Gallo. I would rather keep Carpenter at this point. I love it. Carpenter probably just hit the home run. What is realistic? What does a realistic Gallo trade look like? And then Will on Twitter says, what's a more realistic option right now? Hicks being DFA'd or Joey Gallo being traded or DFA'd? So I don't see...
Joey Gallo's a free agent after this year, right? This is the last year we have him, and then he's unrestricted. Yeah. There's no money. And we're not even paying him a lot this year, right? So he's in...
I mean, he's making decent money. He's last year he got arbitration, right?
Yeah.
He got decent money.
So... I mean, if you take on some of that salary, again, you're not like messing around with any luxury tax with him. You could offload him, but I don't know. So you could do it at a discount for somebody who has the potential to re-sign him, or I don't know. It makes it weird because he's unrestricted, and you're one of the competing teams. So it makes it an awkward trade.
$10.28 million for Gallo this year. So say it's somewhere at the midpoint season. You're talking about $5 million that a team has to eat. Which I think they would,
yeah,
because I still think the allure of Joey Gallo will get a team to bite on it, but like you can't count it.
But again, they're doing it for this year, not next year, because he's an unrestricted free agent. So that's what I'm saying. It makes him a kind of an awkward trade.
But if there's a team that has an injury in their outfield,
possibly,
and they're like, okay, well, let's give Joey Gallo,
baby.
Let's give Joey Gallo a shot out there, because maybe it can't be worse than what we're doing, and then they'll find out it is worse than whatever.
Plus, at that point, the DH spot definitely gets open. So if someone's trying to bolster their DH, you could potentially look at that too. But then you're also, feeding the competition. It's an awkward trade.
And Hicks, like, he's here forever. Like, stop with this. I know it's not a lot of AAV, but like he's under contract for 3 more years, guys.
Yeah. So injured list. That's what everybody's hoping for at the end of the day. That guy to be an extended injured list.
Gallo is hitting 9th some of these games, and even Kay and Flaherty on the broadcast are like, well, what comes after 9? Not in the lineup anymore. So maybe that's next. They're giving him one last shot in the 9-hole. I don't know.
I have no confidence in that. I mean, I hope so. That if they play the better player,
how could you have confidence? Huh? He's shown nothing. How could he had that 1-2 week stretch where his OPS was 1,000?
Yes.
But even you and I sat here and talked on the show. We're like, yeah, I mean, the numbers say Joey Gallo's OPS is 1,000, but like, I don't. That's not what I'm watching.
Right.
Like, I don't understand how it was, and it just was. What's up, Logan?
Just looking at like the roster, like they're not going to have to make a decision with Andujar when Stanton comes back, because they have so many nothings in the bullpen. I mean, they have Ron Marinaccio, they have David McKay, they have Benuelos, they have Clark Schmidt. So there's like room out there of guys that aren't even pitching. It's when Donaldson comes back that you're going to have to make that decision,
which they're both make in the next couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what Donaldson's deal is.
Right.
Yeah, like Benuelos, who was wearing 68 for Dellin because he was one of the killer bees. Loved that.
Yeah.
didn't even pitch this weekend. It's like you don't pitch in a 4-game series at the end of a 23 games and 22-day stretch. Like, you're probably never going to pitch.
Well,
so
I mean, it's a little bit of that's a little hard to say.
I know
considering how the
on,
starting pitching played this weekend. Yeah,
but the starting rotation is a strength of this team.
Yeah. So
their
bullpen has been decimated. So they need backup. They need arms just in case. And unfortunately, we saw what Marinacci, that's his name here, is what he does when he walks into a big situation. Just completely folds.
But I think Logan's right in that one of those last guy in the bullpen goes down just to keep the bat on the roster for a little bit more. But like, you're punting the decision. Yeah.
But then that decision will come again, and we're going to look Andujar in the face. And if he's raking, it's going to drive me nuts.
But by kicking it down the road, what you're doing is you're understanding like someone else might be injured. Maybe Hicks gets injured again, and he's going on the IL. So it's like maybe you never have to make that decision.
And you're extending that look of Andujar. So if you get him enough time, you can truly see what he is at right now. If he's become this guy again, he's come back from that campaign that we saw him as a rookie, because that would be a welcome addition to this team.
For sure. The late runs that Tampa scored on Saturday, they were soft off King and Licky. But I thought, because they brought King in, right, and Licky had a couple runners on base, and he got 2 soft ground balls. It was too soft for the double play, and then a chopper to third base. And I'm like, that could have been the confidence booster turnaround that we were talking about that he might have needed by getting out of that jam if he could have pulled it off.
I mean, they're still going to him, right? So there's a confidence factor in King that's clearly still there, which I'm very happy about. So, yeah, it's not the definitive line in the sand that you're looking for, that exact moment to turn around. But I still think like going to him in big moments, you're seeing the confidence level for sure.
Were you listening to John and Susan on the Sunday game, or were you watching?
I was watching part of it. I was like, went to the pool, went back and watched a few innings, back and forth.
When Taylor Walls hit the home run, so I was driving into the city at this point in the game. John and Susan, in between complaining about the noise at the Trop, they were calling the game.
Yeah.
And like literally when Walls stepped to the plate,
they have a DJ.
Sterling brings up what?
They have a DJ.
Well, you've been to the Trop. So
yeah, they have a DJ. It's an indoor hockey arena, and they have a DJ.
Well, I did appreciate that like at one point they did like a make some noise or something like that, and then Susan just goes under her breath, "Shouldn't you play that when your own team is batting?" It was like perfect John and Susan moment. But Walls steps to the plate, and apparently he was quoted either after Thursday or Friday's game, I forget. He said the Yankees are beatable. And John and Susan were like, "Oh, this coming from a guy with a 150 batting average," and then boom, he hits the home run. It's like, oh, okay, maybe he is gonna beat the Yankees. So I thought that was kind of a weird moment, but like, don't like seeing a home run given up to a guy with a 500 OPS.
One thing, if we're looking back at the weekend too, and second guessing something, one problem I had with what Boone did was after Severino. So the handling of Severino at the end was a little awkward to me. He let him pitch to, I think, was Wander Franco, right? It was a tough right-handed batter. Anyway, let him pitch and then took him out after he came back out. So he came out for the second time and pulled him. But then he put in Marinaccio instead of Clark Schmidt when Clark Schmidt was available and up and going when Marinaccio got in trouble. Like, why, for me, why are we not going with Clark Schmidt in that moment? If he's going to pitch in that day, readily available, it's a tough moment. You need to get out of it. You have the opportunity to win the series. If I'm taking out Severino, I'm putting in someone who I have a lot more confidence in the Marinaccio. Otherwise, I'm probably staying with Severino for another batter.
The only thing I can think of is that Marinaccio is more used to coming in the middle of an inning with runners on base than Clark Schmidt.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but I bet that is the logic there.
I'm starting to get rid of like even looking at that anymore because I don't think it's really a thing. I've not seen anything that's backed that up unless it's our eye test because we've talked about it in the past. But again, Clark Schmidt's been so good. And in this moment, obviously against the Rays on the road, after you win the first two, Severino pitched well, and you're in a trouble spot. Like, I want a guy that's been there before. I don't want to go to this kid who's really not done much. And then,
but like, how much I like what Clark Schmidt has done, but he has not been there before. He's been there just as much as Marinaccio.
I'm saying this season in big moments and he's had moments this year and pitched very well in the major leagues.
He's had one moment. He had one moment.
Yeah.
The Detroit game.
I mean, his ERA is under 1. The kid's pitched well the entire time. Great.
he's pitched well, but it's been mostly in nothing appearances. It's been mostly in low leverage appearances. He did the same thing with the Licky and King. He did the same thing Boone did with
Licky instead of King. Yeah. Right. So I don't know what we're doing in the middle. It's like he's trying to get greedy with this little middle step rather than going to your next guy and putting out the fire. And we've had this discussion in the past during the playoffs and such. Is like, when are you going to put out that fire? Is the fire in the 6th inning? Is the fire in the 8th inning? When is that fire? And who are you going to use on that guy? And clearly, instead of putting out the fire, he wanted to use what I think the bigger guy in like the 8th inning. He was trying to bridge another gap and push them another inning rather than getting them in to fix the problem at hand.
I honestly don't think it was that. I think it was that he wanted to put guys in what he thought were positions to succeed. And Clark Schmidt, who is a starting pitcher coming into the middle of an inning, is different than Marinaccio, who's a reliever coming into the middle of an inning. Now, when the difference might be that Marinaccio has not been pitching well and Clark Schmidt has been pitching well, then maybe you throw that out. But I think that's the thought process.
Anyway, that was my if I'm looking at one thing and crossing my eyes over something that Boone, that would be it. It's small because I understand that this bullpen is a bit decimated and you're not. Like, that's a situation you don't want either one of those guys in at that moment, right? I mean, Clark Schmidt's been not just a one-inning guy; he's been a multi-inning guy. That could have been also part of what they were looking at. So, but that's definitely a clear second guess, I think. Honestly, I would have just stayed with Severino. I thought he was fine. I think the walks that he gave up early in that inning didn't seem like he was able to bounce back from them.
I don't know. I think he was out of gas at that point. I think he was done at that point. But they're through the gauntlet of the schedule, or the gauntlet period where they had to play all those games with no days off. And now they've got Anaheim and Detroit at home before going to Minnesota and then back home against the Cubs and Tampa. But they have off days built in there, so it's not going to be too terrible, as far as days off go. They're facing adversity right now, mainly with the roster and the injuries that the roster has faced, both on the offense and the pitching side. What's your confidence level that this team can get through that? Because this last 2 weeks is the first adversity this team's faced this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident right now. I don't really have much to say that I'm not confident. I mean, they just went into Tampa, won the first 2 games. They had an opportunity, I think, in that last game to take the game if they want, if something bounced the right way. I think that they're facing adversity right now and still playing through it. I mean, even if they're not hitting, they have too many good parts of this team that can step up in a moment. And so far that have, the offense carrying a team, the pitching's just been very good all year. Even in the bullpen, for the most part, you're getting guys who are stepping in. And when the bullpen's decimated, the starting pitching gets longer. So it seems like they have an answer to, so far, all of the adversity they've had. Even if it's not, something that's long-term, it seems like they can really weather the storm. So I have a lot of confidence, man. Like, a scary amount of confidence, to be honest.
The offense needs to get guys back, and they need to return to more of what we saw in the first month and a half of the season. This pitching, you can't count on this level of starting rotation for the rest of the way out. Like we saw it last year too. The rotation was so good, and it never got to a point where it was bad, but it came back down to earth a little bit. Like, you're not going to get eight inning outings routinely. Like, yeah, they scored 7 runs on Thursday, but they only scored 2 runs on 2 solo home runs on Friday. So if it wasn't for Taillon absolutely dominating, barely breaking a sweat, that's maybe not a W. So the offense, I agree with you. I think they are playing through this adversity, and you kind of just need to get through these periods with your head above water.
The kicker, though,
the offense is going to have to pick something.
There's a kicker there, because the reason we're going through this right now is injury. So if injuries continue to mount up, or if they linger, something with Donaldson lingers, you see if this DJ LeMahieu, I know he responded well since the cortisone shot, but how long is that going to be a factor in his health, or make him feel as good as he can be at the plate? Because if he's going through an injury, if Stanton can't stay on the field, then it's a different team. It's a very different team, and it doesn't work as well, obviously, as far as the way that they've put this thing together. So they do need to stay healthy, because if they don't stay healthy, then we're going to be very reliant on this pitching staff.
When's Stanton returning? Have they announced? Have they? They haven't said anything.
He's swinging.
Yet if
he's
coming.
swinging. I know. It's. When was the 10-day? So it's a minimum. Is that what they keep referring to?
Yeah. But the feeling after they found out it wasn't the calf is that he should come back after those 10 days. It won't be longer. So I'm just wondering when that day is.
I don't have the exactly. I'm looking at it.
Logan's got it.
No.
That's fine. But I mean, you're right that they need those guys to come back and pick it up soon. Like you know, if Stanton's gonna have to work through 2 weeks of struggles, it's like great, Stanton's back in the lineup, but it's a guy struggling.
May 25th is when he was placed, so it's 10-day IL. So we're looking.
We're halfway through it.
Yeah. So end of this week.
So yeah.
So yeah, he needs to come back at the end, and you know that's when they'll look at what they're doing with the roster when Donaldson and Hira back, and those guys gotta play ball, and they gotta be productive pieces, because that's the thing that's going to get them, is if they don't have the offense consistency, and these guys are not healthy throughout the year, they're going to struggle to score runs again, and then we'll be very reliant on this pitching staff.
All right, let's preview. Let's pick a game to bet on in this Angels series. Oh, also, I did speak with, I should have mentioned this at the top, but I didn't, Jared Timms of the Talkin Halos podcast. He's a fellow Blue Wire podcaster. We did like 25 minutes at the back half of this episode previewing the Angels series. Also got a little bit of time to reminisce about the 2000s Yankees-Angels rivalry, which was pretty good. If you forgot about that, like the Angels gave the Yankees a freaking hard time in the 2000s.
Yeah, I hated going out west, specifically to play Anaheim. The Angels were a big pain in the ass. They were a giant pain in the ass. So it seems like they're becoming one again, though. They're definitely better this year. There's no doubt about it. And they're getting contributions from people that, you know, I don't think they expected contributions. And when you add two mega superstars into that mix, that you all of a sudden can become a very dangerous team very quickly.
All right, so we're going to be looking at the games in the Angels series, and we're going to be betting on the WynnBET app. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. If you're in one of those states, then lucky you. They bring the excitement of the Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport, WynnBET has what you need. Sign up today, and you get to receive the special offer of bet $50 and win $200 using our code XBlueWire. Download, bet, and win. All right, Scott, what are you thinking for this week? It's interesting because not a lot of data, especially from Yankees hitters, really on either side, because Nestor Cortes is pitching the second game, and he's only faced the Angels lineup once, and there's only a couple guys with only 3 at-bats against him. And then the Thursday game, Ohtani is pitching. He gets another crack at it. He almost got through 1 inning last year.
He shit the bed, man. He shit the bed bad. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I think we all wanted to see a little bit more of a competition, a little bit more of a, you know, some life from the kid, considering all the hype that we had him. He just did not live up to it, unfortunately. Folded pretty badly on that stage.
And I'm not even calling him like a guy who can't live up to the pressure, because I feel like he is a guy that can succeed in pressure. I mean, he was in the home run derby and then started the All-Star game last year. So like, that's pressure.
It could have been a bad day that just spiraled out of control, and you sprinkle in a little bit more tension, and it's just not a good recipe. So we'll see.
The only guy in the Yankees lineup that has any sort of numbers, sample size off of Ohtani is IKF, who's 3 for 12 against Ohtani. But with the way this rotation is going, I know Jordan Montgomery, he's not getting any run support. None of them are really getting run support anymore. Montgomery's still pitching solid, but with how good Taillon and Cortes have been recently, especially coming off those starts, like I feel like you're eyeing one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Nestor Cortes. I don't think I'm going up against Ohtani just for, you know, purely the reason that if he just wants to bounce back from that last one, we might be
in case. Might
be in for an all-timer potentially with that guy's skill set. But no, I'm probably staying away from that one. Reed Detmers, bring it. Nestor Cortes, you know, obviously he's going to. I think it'll be really interesting to watch Nestor pitch against this team. I think. I'm curious to see how he does against Trout, and I'm very curious to see how he does against Ohtani. But they have the ability to hurt you. I mean, they have some guys on here who have some really good numbers. So I'm interested to see how it is as a litmus test, but I think I think that's the game I'm circling. I don't trust Jordan Montgomery. I don't trust the Yankees offense when Jordan Montgomery is on the mound. So it's hard for me to bet on that game.
Yeah. So Wednesday's game, Cortez versus Detmers. I agree with you. The Yankees are also facing Syndergaard in this series.
Yeah, back to New York. Noah Syndergaard. There's a little bit of a storyline there. Wrong borough, but it's something.
I talked to Jared, you'll hear it in a few minutes, about Syndergaard, and he said that the velo is not quite there as it was pre-injury, but he has established himself as the leader of that staff.
Doesn't surprise me.
I find interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I think that's a good infusion for that team. I mean, he's a guy that's been dominant in the past. So if you can add it, and it seems like just from looking at his numbers, I haven't really watched him pitch, but I'm kind of tracking what he's doing through fantasy and such. I mean, he's getting good results, and if he's recreating himself around, not having the same type of velocity on the fastball and recreating himself as a pitcher, then it'll be interesting to watch him throw. So, if he can do that and be effective, that's good on him for being able to counter that.
I like how the Angels are just like, okay, who pitched for the Mets 5 years ago and was really good? Let's go pick that guy.
Let's try that out.
Tried it with Matt Harvey, and now they're giving it a go with Syndergaard, and it seems to be working out this time. So again, download the WinBet app and use code XBlueWire to sign up and get that special offer. All right, we already did the mailbag questions about Gallo and Hicks, but we got another one from Dan Gonzalez at DirtyDan609 on Twitter. He says, is there any concern that IKF has 6 errors? And just quickly, defensive metrics still split on IKF. I was just looking this up this morning. Outs above average, he is in the 22nd percentile, which is bad. So StatCast does not like IKF's defense. But his DRS and UZR are good. +1 DRS, defensive runs saved, and +5 UZR, which is averaged out to 150 games. So he's good on those metrics, bad on the outs above average metrics, and I think on the
what's the difference between the two though? Why are they looking at him differently? Why is one favorable and the other isn't? Do we know? Is there a good sample size changes a lot of this, obviously especially with the defensive stats, I believe. So, but it certainly depends on what they're identifying as the average, right? To compare it to, and that's what Fangraphs is doing. It's comparing. I just don't know how do they look at that? Is it pure errors on the position? Do they take into consideration all the range and all the things that the other metrics are considering?
No, I mean, it's not really, I don't think these defensive metrics are really, I mean, errors are obviously a negative on you defensively, but it's not going to, having 6 errors is not what is contributing here.
No, I know that, but I'm wondering between the two stats, like why are we looking at him as potentially? But when you see 6 errors, eye test is saying that he struggled. I think that one thing to identify and remember is that he did win a Gold Glove, but it was not at shortstop. It was at third base. The guy's been all over, and even when he was in a small sample size of him playing short, I think in Texas, I'm going off memory here from remembering back, is he definitely had a tick up in the errors when he played short in Texas as well. So, he's not the same defender that at short that he is in third. I think that's potentially, but he's good enough. So I don't know. It depends on what we're looking for here.
So definition on the StatCast glossary: outs above average is a range-based metric of skill that shows how many outs a player has saved. And interestingly, prior to 2020, it was only available for outfield. So for infield, it is a relatively new metric. And then outs above average for infielders takes the following factors into account: how far the fielder has to go to reach the ball, how much time he has to get there, how far he then is from the base the runner is heading to, and on force plays, how fast the batter is. Those are the various metrics that they list that's taking into account. So it's really focusing on range, where the ball's hit, how hard the ball was hit, and then do you get that guy out at the bag that you're throwing to?
Yeah. So again, whenever we're looking at these defensive metrics, these are probably the ones I scrutinize absolutely the most and look at the least when it comes to advanced metrics. And that just gets multiplied when you're dealing with a small sample size in a part of the season. Like those numbers really do come to more fruition and start to be true, in my opinion, when you look at after seasons, for when you have a lot more information.
the errors, I know he had a couple errors early in the season, and I think he was just in his own head at that point. And then the only other error that I really remember that sticks out of my mind was the one when Cole was pitching in Chicago, and it was just
he's booted some easy plays, some like little mindless things that he's booted for sure. But then
Cole actually got out of the jam and was pumped up for IKF, which I thought was cool. But I don't know, my eye test. Listen, I don't think he's like a spectacular shortstop. My eyes don't tell me he's a spectacular shortstop, but I'm not worried when the ball's hit there.
I will say also, he was playing third a lot too. As he's getting more comfortable at shortstop, he may not see the best of him yet. We may see the best of him defensively at shortstop very well could be in front of us, which is a cool thing to see. Like, the guy's got a very good glove, clearly. He doesn't give me the same feeling that Glaber sometimes does of like uncertainty. But I mean, even Glaber at second base, when IKF makes an error, I'm like, oh man, he just booted that ball. Like, it was just like a stupid boot, mechanically failure on that one. Sometimes when Glaber was over there, I'm like, he should have had that ball, but he played it the wrong way. It was just, you know what I mean? There's definitely more of a instinctual
but those are happening
loss.
Less at second.
Yeah.
Those plays
definitely
that you
less
just
at second, no doubt.
Glaber.
Right. But I'm saying it's a different feeling, I think, when you're evaluating a shortstop or when you're evaluating a player. Like, to me, it's just like IKF needs more of those reps, and I could see him evolving and getting even better. I could see that. I'm also an IKF homer, but.
Well, how do you feel about his offense lately?
It's not been great. He's making it difficult. He's making it difficult to be a big-time IKF supporter, a big homer. No, I think he'll be fine. He'll pick it up. But he needs to. He really does. He needs to be that. He needs to be that person in the lineup, especially with LeMahieu, having to deal with a little bit of injuries. IKF needs to be that guy who shows up every day. And I don't care if it's a base hit or just, he needs to get on base. He needs to get on base. He needs to put bat to ball, and I want him to have that high average. I think it does make a very big difference if he's in there with a high on base percentage and high average, because, again, slump buster. You need that, and especially if LeMahieu's a little banged up.
And especially with how terrible the bottom third of this lineup has been for most of the season, but really the last couple of weeks. It's just, there's been nothing down there. Absolutely no production. And other than that one game of Trevino.
You know damn well very soon the law of averages are saying that the pitching staff is not going to be what we're seeing, and we're going to start to see more of these guys that are not supposed to be in big situations, and it's going to be a lot more glaring. So the offense does need to, be this exact reason why I haven't, totally gotten worried about this team, because it seems like when needed, a part of this team has stepped up and risen to the occasion. So that's the offense. I think the offense's turn is definitely here.
Okay, so thank you everybody who submitted those mailbag questions. You can tweet us those questions. You can send them on the website at bronxpinstripes.com/podcast. Scott, anything else you want to touch on before we kick this over to my conversation with Jared?
No, man, just excited to. I'm excited to watch Ohtani pitch for this series coming up. I'm glad. I'm glad the Angels are, competing in the West. It's about damn time. They've been spending a lot of money. Too. They need to compete.
We get to see our old pals Tyler Wade and Andrew Velazquez.
That's right. Tyler Wade's probably gonna have an all-time series.
You think so?
Possibly, if he's playing.
Over under bases stolen for Tyler Wade in the series.
You gonna set it, or you want me to tell you?
1.5.
One over.
He's gonna get on base.
He's gonna steal 2 bases. Yeah.
Okay. What would you set the over?
He's gonna make it a point. If that dude gets on base, damn well he's running.
Yes, I know, but he also has a 288 on base percentage, so he doesn't get on base much.
Well, that's the thing. That's where, who knows? If he's on base, the kid's going to steal. And who knows? If there's a close game at the end, might see Tyler Wade out there.
We're going to see him and Judge out at a bar this
probably.
week.
Higgy's definitely in there. Yeah, they're going to reminisce to the old Trenton Thunder glory days.
I saw did you see this thing? This was posted like 3 or 4 weeks ago, that Ohtani referred to Tyler Wade as the hot guy.
Yeah, I did see that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's true. He's a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking dude.
Good-looking guy. Looks like Jacoby Ellsbury, in case you forgot.
I'll give him. He's better looking than Jacoby Ellsbury. He's happy to be in Southern California. Definitely happy to be back out there.
They look like brothers. Very, very similar. So Ohtani would also think Jacoby Ellsbury, hot guy. But then he probably doesn't know who Jacoby Ellsbury is because he's never been on a baseball field. But Ohtani's been on a baseball field as well. probably. Anyway, all right, that's going to wrap it up for this portion of the pod. Definitely stay tuned for the Angels series preview with Jared, and Scott and I will talk to you later this week. Okay, joining me on the podcast now is Jared Timms of the Talkin Halos podcast, because we are previewing the Angels-Yankees series this week. Jared, thanks so much for joining me. What's up?
Absolutely. I thank you for thanks for inviting me on. I always love talking some baseball. Excited for the series. It's always a fun series. Anytime the Angels and Yankees play, so excited to talk about it.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
27. Okay. The reason I ask is because in the 2000s, starting with the 2002, which is when the Angels bounced the Yankees for the first time in the playoffs, and then again in, I believe it was 2005, and then they played in the ALCS in 2009. There was a pretty decent rivalry between the Angels and the Yankees in that time.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it was a little bit before my time, so I couldn't appreciate it, but I definitely understood it. I think you even had the Torrey Hunter, Ivan Rodriguez brawl at home plate at Angel Stadium. I remember being at that game. So yeah, that it's always been, like I said, it just seems like it's always gone back and forth, and just a fun series to be around, to be honest.
Yeah, the Angels always played the Yankees so tough in that time frame. Mike Scioscia I thought he was a fantastic manager. Maybe he outstayed his welcome. I think maybe he was there too long, just from an outsider's perspective. But I always hated whenever the Angels were on the Yankee schedule, because I knew it was going to be a rough series.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, I think just like these big series bring the best out of teams, Yeah. So I feel like anybody going into Yankee Stadium has that extra mindset, like, hey, we got to go beat the Yankees, just because, the history and everything too. That helps as well. So.
Is it also, so I remember a game, it was Sunday Night Baseball. I think it was 2018, might have been 2019. Yankees Angels Sunday Night Baseball, and I swear it was 80% Yankees fans there. And so obviously that might be an exaggeration, but I think Didi hit a home run, and there was a picture of the crowd, and I it was like finding Waldo, trying to find an Angels fan, and I'm like, holy shit. So is there a little bit of that sort of also when you're in the stadium and it's like, oh shit, because it makes sense, like the Yankees travel, but also Los Angeles is a city of a lot of people from around the country, so any Yankee fan living in LA, this is their opportunity to go. So that's probably also factoring in. But is that also feeding the rivalry a bit from the fan perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Yankees travel well. Angels fans sometimes don't travel well to the Angel Stadium, as bad as that sounds.
They don't even travel locally.
Yeah, they don't even travel locally all that often. But yeah, you're not wrong. Yankee fans travel well. A lot of opposing teams travel well into Anaheim. It seems like, I went to Angels Cubs opening day, and it felt like 50% Cubs fans there. Which again, Cubs, Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers. The big teams seem to travel pretty well. So, that definitely doesn't help. When you have a 75% Yankee fan base at Angels Stadium, definitely doesn't help with the rivalry.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a popular family trip where they're like, oh, we can hit Disneyland, we can go to the Angels-Yankees game if we're flying in from New York or wherever. So that's probably a factor. But how about this year? You guys drawing fans this year? Because the team is good.
Yes. No, it's been minus this last week. It's been an absolute blast of a season. Previous seasons I'd cover a lot more of the minor leagues, but it's actually truthfully fun to watch the Angels right now. Mike Trout's healthy, Shohei Ohtani's healthy and playing well. They have Noah Syndergaard. Michael Lorenzen looks like a Michael Lorenzen that, the Angels were hoping for out of the rotation. Jared Walsh, former All-Star. I think you guys know him pretty well. Anthony Rendon has been, a little banged up this year. You won't see him this series, unfortunately. But yeah, and then the two former Yankees with Andrew Velasquez and Tyler Wade. It's just kind of a fun team to watch. It's kind of, the Angels have kind of gone back to that old school mentality with Joe Madden a little bit, and it's just kind of a fun team to watch. Minus this last week has been kind of tough after getting. I think they've lost 5 in a row right now going into New York, but yeah, we'll see. It's a fun team to watch though. By the names, it's a fun team to watch.
Yeah, the fifth in baseball in runs scored per game. The offense, when you look up and down, everyone's having a great season. Taylor Ward has been the most productive offensive player in the league, which, solid player, but no one expected this. So where's this coming from?
Oh, I mean, honestly, if you had watched him since dating back to like 2019, 2020, it was like, oh, this guy is, there's something there. Like the swing is beautiful. Like, and I always said that to people. I was like, he has such a beautiful swing. You watch it and it's like, I would maybe compare it to Josh Donaldson. Everybody likes to compare it to Josh Donaldson, but you compare it, you can't compare it to anybody because it is a beautiful swing. And I was like, this is gonna have to work eventually. 2019, you saw him step up a little bit in a fourth outfield type of role, like that fifth infield type of role, and he played well. And then 2020, he was hurt and played well still in that fifth or fourth outfield role. Last season, he was hurt a little bit, so he just never has gotten that opportunity. And this year, he's gotten that opportunity, and he's played like that first rounder that the Angels have hoped for out of Fresno. So it's been real nice. Honestly, it's been a nice surprise, I think.
Yeah, and you pair him with obviously Trout and Ohtani, who are those are the centerpieces of the lineup. That's who you're building around. But then you get that support around them. That's clearly why they're having a great season, because the last 4 or 5 years you go into the season, it's like, okay, we know we have Mike Trout, best player in baseball, but they haven't been able to support him. And they've tried over the years to spend money. They brought in Rendon after the 2019 season. So he was Rendon right before the COVID year? Was that when they got him?
Yeah, he came in. He was the Garrett Cole year. So
yeah. Oh, right, because Cole was also speaking to the Angels, right? So Rendon, though, I mean, has been fine. He's been good, but has he lived up to what that contract would say?
If you talk to me, I'd say he's been, like you said, he's been good. He's been a good baseball player. If you talk to the average fan, it's like, oh, Rendon's been on the IL. Oh, Rendon's been this. And yeah, he missed a lot of, I think he played 30, 40 games last year. So I guess he hasn't lived up to it. But when he has been on the field, he's been fine. He's been that above average defender. And the bat that's he's going to take a lot of walks, and he's going to hit for Tony Two Bag is what you call him. He's going to have 30, 40 doubles when he's healthy at the end of the season. So yeah, I just think that if he can stay healthy, like that's just been the big issue for him, is just staying on the field at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's an issue for a lot of people. I mean, that was the Yankees' issue for many years, and through basically 10 days ago, everyone was healthy, and then they just hit a wall, and the whole bullpen's on the IL right now, or out with COVID, and Stanton. Although Stanton, it looked like he was going to be a calf, which would have been much worse because he missed basically all of the 2019 season with calf and multiple injuries. So looks like it wasn't that. So Stanton should be back soon. But yeah, the injury bug just sort of caught up to the Yankees.
Yep, same in Anaheim. Honestly, it's kind of been the way it has, the way it's been. The rotation's been healthy, which has been a surprise because that's what the Angels have needed is that pitching side of things. The starting rotation's been healthy, which has been quite nice. The bullpen has seen its ups and downs a little bit. Austin Warren got hit in the nose with a pitch, I guess, when he was playing catch, and he's been out for a little while. But other than that, a little bit streaky. And then even Trout was out for a couple games. Rendon's had to sit out on the IL. Ohtani's battled some back and some knee problems. So I mean, everybody's had their little bumps in the road. Ward started the season on the IL, so I think that everybody kind of goes through that.
Are they doing anything to manage Trout's workload? It's a popular, load management. The Yankees have done it with Judge and Stanton. So what are they doing that for Trout?
It doesn't seem as much like that. I think they just are happy to see him on the field after the last, 2.5, 3 years of Trout kind of being on the IL, COVID, all that stuff. So I think we're just kind of happy to see him playing at the moment. There hasn't been anything like, he hasn't been in right field, he hasn't been in left field, he hasn't DH'd all that much either. So I think he's kind of has the say in it, and I think that he just wants to keep playing, kind of like that Shohei Ohtani thing, where Shohei Ohtani just wants to play every day, and I think he gets better that way. So Rendon, on the other hand, Definitely I think they gave him a day off a week. It's been feeling like, which is a little strange, I think. So
yeah, but it's tough. I had a similar mentality there. Or last year when the Yankees were going into the season with Judge, they were early in the season especially. They wouldn't play him 3 games in a row on turf. It was a getaway day, and he would always sit because it was day game after a night game, and then they had another day off, so they loved to do the back-to-back off days. And I was kind of criticizing them at the beginning because the Yankees needed Judge's bat in the lineup, but then at the end of the season, he played the full season. So it's like, what would I rather have? I'd rather have the couple off days scattered so I can get him full for the season, because ultimately that's what's going to be the best thing for the team. And then obviously, I think Judge ended up playing 30 games down the stretch in a row to close the season out. So it's like, okay, if that's your plan to get him, and if you need him in the lineup, he'll play. Then I can't criticize that.
No, absolutely, and I wouldn't mind that either. Especially, you're hoping that the Angels are gonna again stay healthy and stay in the hunt until at least July, when they can go out and hopefully get some bullpen pieces and maybe another starting piece. But yeah, I'm definitely not against that for sure. I just, we as Angels fans, come into this, I think they just want to see consistency in the lineup, and that's something that they just haven't seen a whole lot of from Joe Maddon's staff. Again, not to blame Madden or anything like that, but if you talk to Angels fans, what's going on with the Angels right now is fully on Joe Madden, and I just don't think I don't
It's
see
the
it
life
as
of
much.
a manager.
Yeah,
the life of the manager is you get
right.
no credit and you get all the blame. It's like it's just the job you sign up for.
You guys know that very well in New York. I feel like, if some little things go wrong, it's all of a sudden, all right, we got to have Girardi's neck. All right, we got to have Torrey's neck. All right, we got to have Boone's neck. I get it. I understand. So.
I've been highly critical, as my listeners know, of Aaron Boone. This year, the team has been winning, so it's hard to criticize him. But I thought I thought he had lost the team in the last couple of years because they were just playing. So they were sloppy mistakes, like so much to dislike in the season and a half between last year and COVID, and I thought they should have moved on from Boone. They didn't. So far, it's been good this year. But when you said people blaming Madden for inconsistent lineup, does that mean inconsistent like actual lineups he's making out?
Yeah, you get some interesting lineups where he, like Matt Duffy batting in certain interesting spots, like the 2-hole, the 5-hole, the 4-hole. And just putting guys in spots where they really shouldn't be, including in the bullpen. I think that's been the biggest thing for Joe Madden is bringing guys in when they shouldn't really be in. Like, perfect example, Syndergaard throws 8 innings. He's at 92 pitches, takes him out, brings in Aaron Loop, who had been struggling at the time and probably needs some time off because the Angels bullpen has been extremely overworked. I think they have 4 or 5 guys who's on pace for 70+ innings this year, which is never good. Which is never good. No, not sustainable at all. You bring in Loop in the 9th. Loop gives up a run or 2. Then you bring in Iglesias, and why even bring those guys in at the end of the day? You just let Syndergaard go. He's at 92 pitches. He's been absolutely just. He had I think it was 4-1 at the time. Just let him finish it off. 3 outs.
Well, are they managing his innings at all?
Nope. Not as much. No. The first couple, they started them off. I think all the starters started off at 70 pitch limit, then they went up to 85, and now none of them. You won't see any pitch limits on really anybody, minus Chase Silseth, who you guys won't even see. So.
Yeah, Syndergaard, he's been back to pre-injury form. It looks like from just looking at the numbers. But is that what you've seen watching him pitch?
Velo's been down a hair. It's not that upper 90s to triple digits like it was. But honestly, the biggest thing with Syndergaard is he's the leader. He's that guy. He's taken this entire staff, him and Michael Lorenzen, I'll say both those guys. They've both taken this entire staff, it's a very young staff too, underneath their wings and just have really worked with them, which has been fantastic. Everybody just kind of takes after Syndergaard, which is why I'm extremely excited. He starts the series off, I think, in New York, because it seems like, if Syndergaard's going, the rest of the rotation's going. And you're able to get to the end of you're able to do things that you're supposed to do with that bullpen. You're supposed to go Loop to Pera and Iglesias 7, 8, 9, and you need 6 innings out of the rotation. So, but back to Syndergaard, yeah, it's he's really taken this rotation under his wing and has really proven why he's the dude that Angels paid him to be. It's been really nice.
The pitching around baseball is just unbelievable. The Yankees in this previous Rays series, like their starting pitching barely gave up any runs and they split the series. It's just like the offense struggled. But like even looking at their rotation, going by ERA plus, most of the rotation is having a really good season.
Yeah, Lorenzen's been a nice surprise. Nobody really knew what they were getting because he hadn't started in 2 or 3 years. He's been out of the bullpen. He's been a very nice surprise. Reed Detmers threw the no-hitter a couple weeks ago, which was fantastic to see that. And I'm trying to think of Shohei Ohtani, that guy. I forgot about that guy.
I'm so pumped he's pitching. He pitched against the Yankees in New York last year. I don't know if you remember the game. He didn't make it out of the first inning. I think he walked a ton of batters. And I was happy that the Yankees got that they were going to win the game, but at the same time I was disappointed because I think he's everyone says most exciting player in baseball. It's hard to argue against that when he can hit and pitch, but like legitimately fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean he's sitting mid to upper 90s. He can pump it into triple digits when he needs it. You know, he's throwing a nice little cutter. The slider is Adam Ottavino like, which is I know Adam Ottavino might be hitting you guys in a little bit of a hard spot there, but
Depends.
You know?
It depends. Are there runners on base? Because then I don't want it to be Adam Ottavino like. If he's starting a clean inning, okay, I'll go.
No, that's just what I like to look at the slider. I like, and then he's got probably one of the best pitches in baseball in that split finger, which is almost unhittable. And then he'll loop in this 70 to 75 mile an hour curveball that just floats in there, and it's like, all right, like how do you hit this guy? But yeah, you know, Shohei is unbelievable. It's like Mike Trout. I just don't think people are understanding like how good this guy really is and what he's doing. And again, I don't want to compare it. I don't think anybody wants to compare it to Babe Ruth, but it's the only thing to compare it to. You know, like that's the only other guy that has ever done something like this. It's remarkable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was explaining to someone who's not a fan of baseball. I was like, he hits and he pitches. They're like, so? I'm just like, no, you don't understand. Like, at the professional level, he's really good at both. They're like, yeah, aren't they all? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get anywhere with this. Like, I'm just going to move on.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it really is unbelievable. Like, I don't think fans quite understand what they're watching at the end of the day. Like, it's just awesome to see that. Like, when he's pumping 100 miles an hour and then he hits a home run the next inning, it just doesn't, you don't see that. It doesn't happen. It's video game like.
Yeah, and I think obviously the home run derby when he won the home run, or wait, sorry, he didn't win the home run derby, but he was in the home run derby, and then he pitched the next day, which I mean, just that alone is pretty amazing. That maybe got him a bit more on the map, like league wide, but I don't know. I think league wide everyone knows what Shohei Ohtani is. I think it's like if he doesn't transcend the diehard baseball fan into the other sports fans, like maybe he's not doing that, but I think that's not a Shohei Ohtani problem. That's probably just a baseball problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you look at it in other sports and like what is Shohei Ohtani in the NFL? Somebody who's a quarterback and then also plays like a linebacker in a sense, or like you look at it, basketball, you can't do it. Like he's coaching and playing at the same time, or it's what he's doing is remarkable. Yeah. So I'm, like I said, I'm just excited that he's healthy. He just needs to keep that front side in when he's batting. That's a big thing. You guys will see it. The Yankee fans will see it if he's flying open with that front shoulder when he's hitting and stepping away, kind of like Ichiro, Hideki Matsui. I mean, all the Japanese guys that kind of fly open. That's kind of what Otani's been doing a little bit this year. So why he's kind of degressed a little bit, but I mean, he still has 10 home runs this year, which is damn impressive.
You know, the Yankee Stadium porch might be too enticing for him to bail out to
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. A lot of off speed away for him.
How much talk is there, if any, like long-term plans for Ohtani, or is it just living in the moment with him?
I know there was some talks in this offseason, about getting him an extension. I think you have to look about how sustainable this is, and to the average fan, it's like, oh, Ohtani's going to do this till he's 35. And, like to you and me, is he really going to do this till he's 35? He's going to play 160 games a year and pitch 25 games a year and continue. Like, I just don't see it, So you have to think about what is he when he regresses a little bit. Is he a 25 home run hitter that just DHs? Can he play the outfield? Is he, if he gets hurt pitching wise, does that mean now he's just a position player? Does the hitting continue or does the hitting regress a little bit and he's just a pitcher down the road? I don't know. Like that's the weirdest thing about this is just
tricky.
Nobody knows. Like nobody can figure out like what it is and what does a contract extension look like for him? Do you pay him for both sides?
How do you value him? Like who you can't? There's no comparison to him.
Yeah, I'm saying not just the value on the field; it's what he brings off the field too. I mean, this guy, like you put him in any ballpark, and he's gonna attract fans. He's gonna sell jerseys. He's gonna there's so much more that he does. Like he contributes the same amount on the field as off the field. I mean, he has a whole country watching him every night. Like it's unbelievable. Like two countries if you count the United States and Japan, but yeah, it's unbelievable. It really is. Like there's no way to fathom what an extension, what a contract looks like for him, just because of both the business and the playing side of it. So I just don't know. I don't think anybody has an answer.
Yeah, from just trying to value him on the field, though, it's so hard because if you're talking long-term extension, like there's got to be a lot of apprehension there to lock him in because, like you said, it's not sustainable. We don't, unless you don't think it's sustainable. And then how do you even project him in 5 years? And will he stop pitching? Because I feel like that's also was a narrative for a little while, especially when he was going through the injury. Is that, okay, just focus on hitting and then what's your value as a hitter? Like, I almost feel like if you're valuing him for a contract extension, that might be how you go about it, just to try and, make it so it works for both sides. Like,
I don't have an answer. Like, you look at it and it's like you can't give him Trout money, right? Like, or can you give him Trout money? Like, what's Garrett Cole
maybe
making?
AAV,
or what
maybe AAV wise, but like you're not
yeah.
giving, what did Trout sign, 10 or 12-year deal or something?
12. I mean, after you add everything on, it ends up being like a 14 or something like that. So 14 for 5 or something like that. And it's like, no, you can't give him that at this point. But I mean, I don't know. Like, you look at it from every standpoint too, from Shohei Ohtani's side of things, a player standpoint, and then like a team standpoint, and just like nothing will make sense. Like, there isn't a correct answer. Like, you could tell me he's making $20 million a year and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. And you could tell me he's making $40 million a year and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense too.
Well, so that's maybe a short term but really high AAV would make sense for both sides, because at least in the near term he provides that value on both sides, and then all of the value off the field. I mean, if he ever hit the free agent market, like, teams lining up for him just from marketing alone, any team that's looking to make a splash, you bring him in and instantly he's the highest jersey seller on your team. He's drawing people to the stadium. So that value is off the charts. But I'm hoping
he's an organizational changer. He really is.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping he pitches more than an inning on Thursday night.
Long story short, back to that. Yeah, I hope he does pitch more than an inning.
Yankees win the game, but at least I get to see him for more than 2 outs or whatever he pitched last time. And
exactly.
And you're talking long-term contract. Like, the Angels seem to never be scared to give out the long-term contract, and most long-term contracts in baseball don't work out. But like most recently with Pujols, you had to walk away from Pujols after all those years. And I don't know, at what point did Pujols not become valuable on the field anymore? I feel like it was right around like 2016, maybe 17.
So he signed in 2012. He made the All-Star team. I mean, my thing with Pujols, and nobody will ever like agree with me on this, is that he contributed more in the clubhouse than he did on the field. But I mean, you can't justify $25 million in the clubhouse. It's just not. Yeah. It's not justifiable. But like my biggest thing for Albert Pujols is look who stood next to him every day for 10 years during the national anthem. Mike Trout. I mean, at the end of the day, and you look at what Mike Trout's done now. Is that worth $25 million? No. But like, but he was best friends. He was Mike Trout's mentor. Like, I get it. Like, Pujols brings a different dimension to the table. But on the field, yes. Like, Angels signed him in 2012. I think he was an All-Star in 2013, 2014 when they went to the playoffs. So like 2015, 2016, it started being like, like this isn't. I don't think this is gonna work. Like, this is not. We have another 5 years with him. You have another 6 years with him. Like, that's not good. Like, So, it is what it is.
But did fans turn on him at any point?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, it's hard not to when you're paying a guy that amount of money and he's batting .220 with a certain number of home runs and a certain number of RBIs. Like, at the end of the day, and you had Shohei Ohtani too come in, so you can't have 2 DHs at that point, and it just didn't work out how it was supposed to. The Angels didn't win World Series.
No, I mean, in the last 5 years they weren't even 500. So it's
so that added on to it.
Sure. Oh yeah. I mean, you've got the spotlight on you when you're the big free agent signing, and then it doesn't work out. The homegrown guy's always going to get the benefit of the doubt. In New York, it's crazy like that. Like, A-Rod booed for years. Stanton booed if he goes 0 for 5 in one game. Didn't matter that he hit 3 home runs the night before. He's getting booed that night. Aaron Judge, never heard him booed once. So it's just that's just how
money
it goes.
Money speaks. So
yeah. And the funny thing is, the Yankees are actually only paying Stanton like $22 million. Like, he's one of the best bargains in sports if you just look at it from what the Yankees are paying him.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I love Stanton. I think like he's no matter what he does, like it's always fun to watch him. I mean, biggest, strongest dude in baseball. So.
Or you think there's gonna be any upgrade in the infield? Like you mentioned, Wade and Velasquez, two former Yankees. But you look up and down the lineup. To me, that's the weak link, at least offensively. But I take it they've been providing other value.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Tyler Wade for the first month and a half of the season was the unsung hero of the Angels, and I mean, for obvious reasons, you know what he brings to the table. He's that Joe Madden type of guy. He's that old school baseball guy that Joe Madden likes, and Velasquez is just playing stupid defense. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah. It's like watching Andrelton Simmons again, and that was special to watch. But yeah, you look at it down the road, and if the Angels choose to go in July and look at a shortstop, you look at the Red Sox, and there's a certain shortstop there, and Xander Bogaerts, and other than that, you're gonna have to wait till the off season. So I don't know. There's nobody in the future. Up the middle, I mean, you got a guy like Mikey Stefanik, but that's down the road. He's in AAA, but what does he provide? He's a 28, 29-year-old kid that's kind of gone not really around the league, but was undrafted, and it's just a really good story. So I just don't know. You hope you get David Fletcher back and he can contribute here in 2 months or something like that. But I think they're going to kind of stick with where they're at and platooning Matt Duffy with Velasquez and Tyler Wade, and maybe try to make a trade for somebody equivalent to that down the road. I just don't know, and you don't know who's going to be available at the deadline either. So
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting deadline. Like you keep saying, well, if the Angels are still in it, like more teams are in it than ever.
Yeah.
So, and I think that especially with the hot start the Angels got off to, I mean, unless things go really sour real quick, they're gonna be in it, and so that's going to be more buyers at the deadline, which I think is good for around the league.
Yeah, and the Angels just need to stay playing 500 baseball until July. Like you look at the month of June for the Angels, and it's not fun. It's not a fun month of June. I'll say that much. You get in July, and it gets a lot easier. So you just gotta find a way to play 500 baseball and stay around that. Honestly, stay around the 500 mark, and you just don't know, because that's a wild card spot. You win a couple games and end up 5 games, 10 games over 500, and you find yourself in a playoff spot, and anything happens in the playoffs. So.
Anything happens in the playoffs. That's the motto the Yankees were using when they would get bounced in the playoffs. Well, the playoffs are a crapshoot, so it's like, God, I hate that. But I mean, it's partially true at the very least.
Yeah.
All right, Jared, thank you so much for joining me. I'm very much looking forward to this series. Hopefully we have a good one.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.